Living the Vibes with Vyman.
Hello, guys, and welcome to episode number 6 of Living the Vibes. I'm your host, Vyman. Today is a beautiful sunny day, beautiful for walking, for running, or for making a podcast. Now, in just a few days, on September 30th, it's gonna be the International Podcast Day. And what better way to celebrate the podcast than starting your own podcast or listening to a new podcast? You can also use the hashtag International Podcast Day. Follow on social media some favorite podcasters that you have. And of course, don't forget to share those podcasts. Now, creating a podcast is something that over the past 3 months I've realized that is very difficult. Doesn't matter if it's an audio or a video podcast. You see, the first thing that you need to do before starting a podcast is that find your niche. Whether you're gonna talk about cooking or fitness, or fashion, or whatever you want, because this is really important. When people are searching for podcasts, they search about comedy or some true crime, and this is really an easy way for people to find you. Now, research, you have to make a research about everything, how to make a name, a logo, a cover, the channels on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more platforms. And of course, the banners, and the duration of the episode, the type of the episodes, and all of this that we're gonna talk about now. So first, the name. Like I said, you have to find your niche, comedy, fashion, whatever the kind of podcast that you want. But name is really important. You can always use your name. For example, let's just say that your name is Joey. You can call it the Joey Talk Show, or the Joey Experience, like the Joe Rogan Experience, or something like that. Something that it's gonna be really easy for people to remember and to find you everywhere on the internet. The other thing that you have to think about is whether you're gonna have an interview. You're gonna talk with people that are gonna tell you different stories, or is gonna be a solo podcast like this one, and you're gonna share with people your own personal stories, or you're gonna share your thoughts on something, because podcast is actually about this, expressing yourself. Whereas a solo podcast, a group of podcasts of 5, 6 or more friends interviewing someone, podcast is about expressing yourself, sharing your thoughts, sharing your experience with people, and of course make it interesting. So you should think on format, what it's gonna be. The other thing is the schedule, when you're gonna post. On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or any other day. There is, when I made the research, Tuesday According to all podcasting listeners, Tuesday is the best day for posting. But also, there are a lot of good podcasts that are posting on Wednesday and on Thursday. Monday and Friday is definitely not the best day for posting because uh, the beginning of the week and the end of the week, people are really busy, and I don't think that they have too much time to listen or watch podcast. Saturday or Sunday is better option because Saturday and Sunday the people are resting, they're at home, they chill, and they definitely have a few minutes to listen to your podcast. But don't make it Monday or Friday. Of course, it probably at some point doesn't matter when you're gonna post because you can post your podcast on Tuesday, but that doesn't mean that all of your subscribers are gonna listen it on Tuesday. They might listen it on Wednesday or on Friday or on Monday evening. You never know. But of course, the first few listeners are really important. That's why the posting day matters. And of course, we cannot miss the duration, the length of every episode. 20 to 40 minutes, according to people, is the best podcasting duration because 40 plus minutes, 60 plus minutes, and even some people that are making 2 or 3 hours, this is really too much. Joe Rogan is that type of person that is making an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours. But of course, he's a different guy. He's making a podcast for many, many, many years. This is the number one podcast out there. No matter what any other podcaster are saying you, Joe Rogan Experience is the number one podcast out there. You can see it on Spotify and on a few other platforms that he is the number one. So of course he's making really interesting episodes. He's having really interesting guests, and he can afford to make an hour, 2 or 3 with their guests because it's really gonna be interesting for them, and he's gonna keep them engaged with his episodes. Of course, the other thing is that he is posting uh, video podcasts not only on YouTube but of course on Spotify because most of the podcasters are posting video podcasting only on YouTube, and on the other platforms are posting an audio file, an audio podcast, but he's posting a video podcast even on Spotify, which is really important for some viewers because they prefer it to listen and watch the podcast on Spotify because YouTube is a really big podcasting community, but still podcasting is preferred mostly on an audio because when people are at work or they are at the gym or they're cooking or they're at university, they don't really have time to watch, but they have time to put on their headphones and listen to a podcast. That's why the the audio podcast format is still better than the video, still more preferred from people. So the other thing that you have to consider, you have to think about is the equipment. I talk about it in the premiere episode. If you have watched it, if you have listened it, and if you remember. Now, what do you need? You need a microphone, you need a camera, and of course you need a tripod for your camera and a mic stand. Now, Some people are doing their podcast from their desk, but I actually prefer to do my podcast from my couch and put from the side my mic stand. It's way more comfortable for me. The microphone, a lot of podcasters are using the Shure uh, SM7B or a Shure MV7. Really good decision, really good option, but the MV7 I think is about $200, maybe, not really sure. The SM7B is $400. So if you're a pro, you can probably afford this. But if you're still starting a podcast, I suggest that you should buy not the cheapest, never buy the cheapest, but buy something in the middle. $50, $100 mic is really a good option. This right here was somewhere between $60, $80. I don't really remember. This is Trust GXT256. It's a gaming microphone, but it's also good for streaming, podcasting, and whatever you need. It has a windscreen with it, but I'm not currently using it. Perfect LED light, but unfortunately you cannot see it right now because it's right in front of my face. And the other thing that the people that are still starting and don't understand that microphone matters, but actually the editing is more important. You can have a cheap microphone, but if you edit the audio really good, you can have a sound like the Shure microphone. I'm gonna tell a little bit later on for the editing. So the other thing, the microphone stand is really necessary. $50-$60 is really nice and enough for your podcast. But just remember, some cheapest mic stand can not really fit for your microphone, because you see this microphone right here that I'm using, a studio microphone. Most of the studio microphones are really heavy, like this one, and when I put the microphone stand, it actually falls. I don't really want to show you right now because it might fall, but this has a nice decision. You have to just put something heavy on your microphone stand, and everything is gonna be settled, so don't worry about that. The tripod, you can use literally every tripod, doesn't matter. Of course, the only thing that matters whether you're using a DSLR camera or your phone. I'm currently recording it with my phone because every phone after 2015-2016 has a high quality camera, which is enough. Most of the phones right now have 50 megapixels of camera or more, so this is definitely enough. If you have phone with the 4K camera, this is awesome. And of course, after that, you can edit it in some video editor, which is gonna be even better for video podcasting. Remember, don't invest too much money in podcasting. $100 to $2,000 is the range that you should stick with it, because you don't know how this podcast is gonna be. It might be the number one podcast in 6 months, or it might don't have any listeners at all. So you don't want to lose $500 or even $1,000, because If you buy the Shure microphone and a good microphone stand and a good camera for something that you don't know how it's gonna go. So don't invest too much money. This is I have made the research about how much you should make, and all of the people out there are saying that don't invest too much money. Don't do that. For making an audio and a video doesn't matter. You definitely have an intro and an outro. This is really important with some kind of music that people like, royalty free music, because you don't want to get a copyright strike. Add some pictures for your video podcasts, some memes if you want. It's really important to start your podcast with a big hook, like they say. When you edit your episode, just put something that the most interesting thing of the podcast, put it in the beginning with captions for the video format, so people can see what this episode is actually about. Now the audio editing, like I said, is really important because you don't need a expensive microphone if you are a good audio editor. You can use any kind of software. All the internet is full of free. Of course, some of them are free for about 30 minutes a month, an hour a month, which is probably not going to be enough for you if you're not making some kind of podcast of 10 minutes. But of course, you can always use software programs, software editors like FL Studio. I reuse it and it's really good. Use your royalty-free music, like I said. And now the sound. If you want your podcast to sound like you're not in your home, but like you're in a professional studio, you can do it in a really simple way. So when you record your podcast, doesn't matter if there are some background noises, like people talking, or the window is open and you can hear the wind, or the words like a P or T, or no, if you're not using a windscreen, this is really annoying when you pronounce some of the letters. If you want to fix all of this, there's a really simple way. Just find some software that probably with an AI that can reduce your noise, your background noise. The one thing that I can personally recommend to you, and I can assure you that is working really good, is Adobe Studio. You can open Adobe Studio audio file only, which means that if you're making a video and if you want to put it somewhere with the better sound, you can just save your audio file and then drag it to the Adobe Studio, and within a few minutes you're gonna have a perfectly professional sound. Trust me. The video editing, just make sure you have a good lighting. I have a natural light, daily light, because it's really sunny right now. I'm close to the window. If you don't have a natural daily light, it's starting to getting colder and colder these months. So the sun is not gonna be available for a long time. Of course, if you're not living somewhere in South America or Africa, or in California, or in your sunny town. But if you don't have a sunlight, you need to buy some professional lights on the internet. But of course, you can edit your video colors. I am using currently a CapCut, a really nice editor with a lot of effects, with a lot of sounds. It's really simple to use because there are some softwares that are good professionals, but not only that, they have inexpensive plans, but they are really hard to use. You need at least a few weeks to actually understand how this software works. Trust me. So build your brand. Make it's not of course necessary, but you can make a logo of your podcast. You can use an AI for this, or you can make it by your own. Use some warm colors if you want, or dark one. Depends on what your podcast is about and what do you think people would like more. You can use your photo, or you can use some stickers. When posting on YouTube, you definitely need to have thumbnails, YouTube banners, social media. You need also a nice profile picture, and make a few templates for your podcasting stories on social media. You have to promote it not on a daily basis, but a few times a week, because people need to see your podcast that is existing at least in the few weeks, few months when they discover you. Consider when and where you're gonna post your podcast. Is it gonna be only on Spotify, or on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all the other platforms out there? The more your podcast is available on these platforms, the better. But of course, I think that 2 or 3, at least for beginning, is enough, because if you're doing your podcast on your own, this is really hard. When you're doing a solo podcast, you need to make your description, your name, your logo, your titles, your recording, your editing, the lights, the promoting on social media, the uploading. This takes a really serious amount of time. So if you have a friend that can help you with that, just do it. It's gonna be in their favor, of course, because they can be always a part of your podcast. And last but not least, analyze every single day. How many viewers, listeners you have on the different platforms? Where are they from? Their gender, their age, everything. Because if you have a younger listeners, you have to make kind of topics that the Gen Z loves. Because if you talk about something that it's not in their on their mind, they're probably not gonna listen to this podcast. So make sure that you do topics that are only for your viewers. And this is it. We made another episode of Living the Vibes. I hope you enjoyed it. Celebrate International Podcast Day. Listen to a new podcast. More specifically, listen to this one. Give a like, subscribe, follow, make comments, make recommendations. Whatever you like, what you don't like in this podcast. Use the hashtag International Podcast. Use the hashtag Living the Vibes Podcast. Follow me on social media. And as always, guys, I want to bring the best vibes in you. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Have good vibes. I love you all. And I see you on the next episode, which, by the way, it's gonna be an ASMR podcast. So if you love ASMR podcast, stay tuned for the next episode, number 7, because it's gonna be an ASMR. Still don't know what I'm gonna do, this scratching and all those things that the ASMR podcasters are doing, but we're gonna see. So I hope you're gonna listen to this next one. Love you all, and I'll see you next week on the next episode.